So, Kritika and Swati, I'd love to hear about this new initiative that both of you started. And I would like to first begin by understanding what the idea was and what was the trigger for this idea.
Yeah.
So, when we were working on our action research process and reading a lot of research paper to support our research, to support our strategies, I stumbled upon a paper, research paper, which talks about fostering student ownership through writing. And two teachers of now ninth grade English at the English teachers come up with an idea of fostering uh, healthy writing in their classrooms through uh, creating context for their children to write in a real world scenario. It was very interesting for me because parallelly we were having parent teacher meetings in our school, and a second grader had posed this question to me, saying, why should I write when I'm in such a technologically advanced world, and I can get all my work done with just a voice command.
Second
Even
grader
my
said
TV
this.
remote works.
A second
Second
grader.
grader said this, and his parents were there with me, and and I was trying to tell them that we need to kind of build his pincer grip, and he hasn't begun to write yet, and we should find ways to make it more engaging for him. That's when they shared this with me, that he protests. He says that everything is just a voice command away, and his parents are journalists, and he sees them only write type on computers, which has spell check, autocorrect. So he's sharp enough to observe things in his environment, and he says, "Why should I write when there are so many other options for me? Isn't it enough for me to convey my thoughts to you orally or in whichever way?" It got me thinking, and at the same time, this research paper unfurled in front of me one morning when I was sipping a hot cup of tea and I said, "Oh my God, I should try this." But I wasn't sure of what role I was going to take in the next academic year because we were already at the end of the previous academic year.
Yeah, similar experience. I had been struggling with my Hindi classes because, again, thanks goes to LCoR, because there we sit and discuss on everything, related to teaching, learning. And when we were planning for our action research, that time my quest of thinking on what subject I should do action research was, first I came up with bringing the real world into the classroom.
Yes.
So when Kritika and I had been dealing with this question, we can write email, Akka. Why we need to write letters? So making letter writing relevant in my so-called boring language classes, I started asking them to write letters to their friends. I started asking, let's write to the district magistrate, or we'll write to prime minister, so that they feel relevant. But still, they were not able to, because the local problems and the local things, they were not actually connected with. So I was finding it very difficult. I had been struggling with that, and when Kritika came up with this idea, I kind of, in LCoR we are always looking for something new, something interesting. So that made me thinking, let's do it. When Kritika came up with this idea, but my only thought was, let's do it. Yeah.
Swati, if I may interrupt you here. So what happened was, in the month of May, fag end of May, I was told that I would be the class teacher for grade 4, and I would also have a major role in mentoring grade 5. So the group of grade 4 and 5 children were under me.
So
When I got to know this,
now you moved from being a second grade teacher to fourth and fifth.
yes,
Okay.
yes, this year, and it just seemed that since we are a new school and we are just 3 years old, we had a lot of new teachers coming in post pandemic, because the old ones left or they were connecting from really far away places, and commuting every day would not be possible. I was in a situation with my director where we had a friendly chat, and we put out all that was there for us to offer the children, or in terms of experiences and engagements. And I just happened to, the third dot for me just got connected at that in that Zoom call. It wasn't something that I had planned in my mind, or I was thinking about. But when that conversation impromptu happened, the dot got connected for me, and I said that I had this idea in my mind, and since you're putting me with grades 4 and 5 this year, how about this project? This is something
One
that I've been
minute.
thinking about.
Can I ask you a question? Why would it not have been equally possible if you continued with grade 2? Why did the dot get connected only when you were told grade 4, grade 5?
No, it's just that me and Swati became very close to each other during our action research journey.
And
And
I
she had
was
told me that
class
she is the
teacher
class
of.
teacher for grades 4 and 5.
That's
And
why.
People Grove is a school which starts from grade 4. As
Yes,
in,
I know
they
that.
have their bunch, the major group that starts at grade 4.
So
So
the
it was
Swati
like,
connection was the third dot.
correct. And I was also, we had been talking to each other and saying we should catch up, we should meet, because a lot of similar thought process that both of us, went through during our journey of the action researching in LCoRP. And we connected, I think she was my first friend. We connected the most, from our reflective writing course. Um, so that's when, it was like a signal. And my director was equally excited about the opportunity. She said, wow, this is going to be really unique to write for a real world scenario, and let's see how children take to it. So that's
Your
when
three
I called her up.
dots, if I understand you
Yes,
right, your 3 dots in the triangle were
yes,
research paper, right? Need for honing writing skills,
correct,
and
correct,
connection with Swati, who also is teaching the same grades.
correct.
Were these the 3 dots?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
Akka. Yes, Akka.
Nice.
It was a love triangle for us.
Nice, nice.
So that's when I in fact I remember on the same day, I think I hopped off the meeting by about 5 in the evening, and I texted her immediately. She said I'll be free in the night. So we got onto a call late night, and I think my excitement was just jumping out of the phone. And I don't know if I came out even precisely telling her what I was thinking, but I just remember her saying,
No,
"Let's do
you
it,
were
buddy.
perfect. You said
Let's do
everything,
it, buddy."
whatever.
Swati's reassuring voice, "Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm game.
Yeah,
Let's do it."
yeah, yeah.
So that's how it started.
Okay. So one question here, which is, supposing Swati was not in the picture, Kritika, and Swati, suppose Kritika was not in the picture, but you had read this research paper and you got this idea, would you still have done it?
I would have. Because in our community of reflective practitioners in LCoRP, there are so many like-minded educators, principals. So I'm sure the opportunity would have presented itself in some form or the other. Yes, of engaging in a similar process.
So my question is different. Would you have just done it within your own school? Like that research paper, they didn't do exchange program, right? They created real world scenarios within the school.
Yes.
So you don't need another school. You just found it more exciting to engage with a fellow teacher in another school. So my question is, supposing you didn't have this third party, another school, but you had read this research paper and you said, hey, this is a great idea of making children see how writing can be meaningful. Would you still have done it within your own institution? Is my question.
I don't think so, Oka.
Why? Why?
It happened the way it happened because of our community, because I think that it actually opened my mind to various other factors, post our discussions during the action research journey. And I don't know, I think it's an interesting question, but I don't think I would have done it. I don't know if the idea would have even presented itself, because the
Correct.
whole
I
idea
wanted
of
to say that.
reading a
Yeah,
research paper came to
yeah.
me only because I was a
Because of
part
the
of this
community. Yeah,
community and because of the action research that we did.
yeah.
Otherwise, I had never read action research papers. In fact, I remember one morning asking you, Neeraj Akka, to send me like more papers,
Yeah.
because I
Same
was so
thing on same
excited.
post. Yes.
Each paper seemed to be a box of possibilities. So I don't think I would have been in that mental
Yeah, I
space
would.
to
Yeah, I would
create or
also
co-create
say.
something.
Yeah, say the same thing, because I remember having some discussion where Vidya came up with this idea that we can have so many things. No, we can have student and teacher exchange programs in some part of discussion that I was thinking right from there, and something next week only Kritika jumped with this idea, and I was like really thinking about it from that day onwards only. And without our community, I don't think, because we were all trying to do our best within our own limits, in our schools.
Yes.
So we would have done something, because we love to do some work with the children. But I think that gives us one thought which is very clear here, that when we start sharing with everybody, when we meet together, when we talk to everybody, teachers, and we share our ideas, it helps you more. So discussing our problems with each other, talking about teaching learning practices and being together is very important. This made me really, after this program, I realized the importance of this. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. I mean, we are all sailing in our own boats with our own worries and problems, with
Yeah.
nobody is there to, act upon it or work. So always it's good to be with people. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. So I just want to clarify.
Also, Akka, just to quickly add on to what Swati said, because the space has been such an enriching space with like-minded people and discussing our problems or troubles, or just having a chat, a fun chat, has brought us so close that it doesn't feel. When I met Swati, it didn't feel like it was the first time I was meeting her after 2 years. So somewhere
Physically
we wanted to directly meeting her, somewhere we wanted to get that physical connect as well, to see each other in flesh and blood, and I think that also transpired. So that want, that willingness, and that excitement also kind of
got it. That
built
also
the
was
entire program together.
part of the fuel. Yeah.
Yes.
So I just want to clarify. In the research paper, there is no such exchange between schools. Am I right?
There's no exchange between schools. Just that this school, which creates content, is actually sending a set of written matter to another school, but
Ah,
not with the intention of getting a response.
ah.
This is just you describing your school, things, topics that are relevant to you as a group. You come together as a grade and you prepare content for them. It was multidisciplinary in the paper as well. But whether it was art, or it was history, or it was geography, or it was anything else, the English teachers added a bit of writing to every aspect of the program. So even if it was a video they shot or an interview they did with the principal, they were asked to transcribe it. They
Okay.
sent the video along with the transcription. So there was an element of writing everywhere.
Got it.
But
But
it
it
was
was
done
content generated by the children.
by the children for children
Got it. Got it.
of probably a similar grade, or I don't know, similar age group, but in another country altogether. So there was this dimension of cultural difference.
Yes.
There was a dimension of geographical difference.
Yes.
So which added on.
So we are fortunate that in our country you don't have to go very far for a diversity of culture.
Absolutely.
Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh are diverse enough. Abroad they have to think of reaching out to another country because they are more homogeneous, right? So we have a lot of rich opportunities for exploring diversity in short distances, overnight bus,
Absolutely.
right? Okay.
Correct.
So I'm going to ask you now, how did you start it and what was your intention in the beginning? You've already explained part of it. If there's anything more to say to that, please add, otherwise I'll go on to the next question.
So like we told you, Akka, that how the golden triangle was formed. Followed by that, when Swati gave her nod to the project, we chalked an email with all the objectives, and just putting our thoughts into words, and we shared it with both our principals. Swati did it at her end, and I did it at my end. And once we had an approval from our principals, then we went on to the task of kind of getting other teachers on board, because we also wanted to keep it multidisciplinary, and we wanted to involve our English faculty. For me, I was fortunate because I was a part of the English team already, and I was allotted a special period every week to go ahead and get into this project full swing. But for Swati, it was a little different because she was teaching Hindi and she had to get her English teachers on board. So that was the initial step.
Project, how did you get approval for the project? What did you explain to the principal? Swati, you can also answer.
Yeah, so Kritika and I, we jotted down one letter. So Kritika had sent her points, what she feels about exchange program, and I added my points that all these things I feel about that we need to more exposure to the children, and they will be able to understand what the same age level children are trying to attain in the different place. So like that, we have written one mail. Did, and I've sent that to Viraj, and Viraj really liked the idea, my principal, Viraj Naidu, and he was very supportive that we should go ahead with this. He said that this is brilliant. I mean, you must take it forward. So then I told him in the beginning only that we will be writing letters, but we are also planning to have a visit end of the term. So he was very happy and very much for it. So that way it really helped. Yeah. Yeah.
So Swati, I want to ask you, you were particular about them writing letters. Is it because you found their resistance to writing letters? You
Yeah,
found that
actually,
that needed to be addressed?
yeah, that was the main thing, that how writing is relevant till now, why we need to sit and write letters. So I had been struggling with this question, as I told you earlier. So that was the main thing which kind of motivated me immediately, because I was actually struggling with this issue, and I was trying to make the writing relevant to writing letters to the maid servants, and then I asked them to write their friends, their families. So I was doing all these things in within my own this thing, but this was a wonderful opportunity for children to interact and then get answers. So when
And
I
with other children, not maid
other
servants
children,
and adults. Yes.
correct, other children, and they were so happy. I thought that it will be very difficult and we'll have to motivate, but they immediately started, and we have one exercise just to inculcate that in our school, one letter writing period for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. So what they do, they write to their parents. So it was something different. So I was a class
Was
teacher
this
of
always there, this practice? One
this
period?
practice is always there. From past 3-4 years, we have been following it. This year, only 4th and 5th was doing regularly. 6th and 7th, we made it optional because children were not feeling very excited about it. So 4th and 5th
So,
was doing it,
sorry to
but
interrupt you, but do they write these letters from the hostel to their parents and actually post them?
yes, yes, I do all the posting and writing addresses and everything. So we were already doing this, but they never. It was little. It become little boring for them after some time, because they have
Mechanical.
phone calls.
Mechanical. Yeah.
Yeah, because they have phone
Yeah,
calls
they
every
talk on the
weekend.
phone, they anyway exchange. Yeah.
Yeah, so but writing to the friends and then getting
Yes.
answers, that was very exciting for them. So I wanted to do it in my, like, we have homeroom classes. Kritika had to finally made a time in the timetable. So they had one People Grove school timetable kind of thing where they will sit and write. But I was lucky, I had homeroom classes, class teachers period, but I was not English teacher and my English is not that. So I had to take help of English teacher. And
like to add there. So when we were trying to explain this process to Swati's friend Shraddha, who is an English teacher, we did break down the process into smaller steps so
Ah,
that
tell
it
me those
wasn't
steps.
overwhelming for her. Yes. So we broke down the process. So what I did was I told her that we can start simple, because this whole idea of suddenly making content for
Change
another school
program.
can be
Yeah.
really big, and it can bog you down. And you already have so much to do that this is one
Exactly.
extra bit on your plate. So we didn't want her to feel like that from the beginning. And Swati and I had a couple of calls before that, and we sat down to kind of discuss how this can scare other teachers if it's really just very shown in a very raw format. The first content can be just simple letters about themselves.
Very
Let's
nice.
also involve art. Let them make portraits that also
Very good.
explain about them. So we made the process very simple for her to kind of grasp. So all she had to do was just help them write letters about themselves, which is the easiest.
yeah.
Think
Yes.
about you.
Yeah. Another thing which I want to add, that first we did not want to involve everybody and make it too much, so that it will be difficult for us only to process the entire thing. So we just wanted to do it, with one or two people. Like I took help of Arvind, our teacher, and he is always very excited about anything comes for the teaching, learning related, anything. And he was like, wonderful, wonderful. So
The main process, children were already excited to go visit them. They knew that at the end of this process, they will get to meet these children at some point. So when they got to know that it's going to be somewhere mid-October, like just a month from now, they were so thrilled. They had already begun to talk to their parents. So what I did was I created a little hype around it in the class, like I usually like doing. So I was pumping them with, we will go, we'd like to go, just to get a pulse of the children. So they were going and sharing it with their parents. Some of them came back and said, oh, my parents are very scared to send me on an overnight trip. So it's just getting a pulse, because our PTM was approaching. And I would anyways meet every parent in person. So what I did was I used that PTM as my little PR process. And along with whatever I had to share with the parents, I allotted another 5 minutes to talk to them about this upcoming trip. And I kind of educated the parents to what was coming. I told them the details would follow in an email from the school,
Very
but
nice.
this is what we are planning. And so I think we were 18 of us 18 children who went to PGS. We met with no resistance, actually, to be honest. They were very excited about the opportunity, and they actually said that it's so refreshing to see that this is a process like this is starting at such a young age,
Yes. Yes.
because they are so receptive and absorbent.
Yes.
And they also, every parent said, even the ones who didn't join us for whatever reasons, said that the children had convinced them and said, you have to send me, Akka will send you the email. So it was more from them. So seeing the enthusiasm,
They owned it. The children
they owned it. They
That's the
owned it.
important thing.
They still own it.
That's the important.
I said, okay, let's keep about my school or about my locality, something like that. So we were just brainstorming ideas, but we took baby steps. We said one thing a term. Will that be possible? A term would have about 3 months for us in a day school. So we said, will that be possible? Can we just create content about that? But actually, Neeraja Akka, within a term, we actually had 3 exchanges, which was another story after that, because children were so enthused post their first letter and when they received replies. Because there were moments, for me, I was assigned one period in a week, but it was not possible for me to do everything in that period.
Yes.
But because my colleague Darshana, who's fairly new to teaching itself, but it's a very passionate soul, she was so excited about the whole project that during her English sessions, she would just continue. She say, Akka, let's not break the flow. They've started the letter. Let me give my English period. Let them finish the letter today, and I shall work on whatever I have to in the next period.
Very
So
nice.
there was a lot of support that we received. I received from my colleagues. Actually, this was in terms of English, where she was actually facilitating the session. But I should say that there were all the other teachers whom I interact with who were, actually in their sessions, when they also, in their periods, were asking children, what did they say? How was the letter? Did you find something interesting? Do share with me. And they also sat down to have a quick circle time in their math period to actually see the letters and read it with the children with childlike enthusiasm. I think that was a success.
Love
Taking the English teacher on the board, we started writing. She did some exercises in her class, and then I spoke to Arvind, the art teacher, because I wanted to do the first thing was me. We had to write about ourselves. So we did this art exercise. So he came to the class. He spoke to them. He talked to them, and they drew about themselves. So that was also one of the exercise one child did in certain way that he became very popular in ATA. So all the children, when they entered in the dining hall, they say, "Who is a Moog? Who is a Moog? We really liked your." Um, so first thing they did this, and then I compiled all the letters. What I told English teacher that let's not do so much correction. Let it be children's work. We are not going to do cosmetic surgery of the children's work and correcting the grammar. And also for the English teacher also, she could see the first quality of the first letter and so there was a difference, so
How
also
many letters did they write totally?
totally three things are covered
Three
along
sets.
with art and some
And these
reflective
3 letters were written over a time period of?
actually we started July onwards, July to
August, I
October.
think. We started in August. And I
August,
think September we met. So between
yeah,
that,
yeah.
In a
2
month.
months.
In a month, 3
In a
letters
month.
were exchanged.
For us, it was a little different in the process. So we stuck on to writing about ourselves first, which was an exhaustive process for about 6 weeks. We passed it on through editors, and we had the editor come and talk to them because in our school we generally produce books at the end of academic years on different engagements the children have done. So we wanted them to see how an editor can actually, does the editing and how clubs words and sentences and gives it crisply. So actually they'd written for about 3-4 pages, everybody, and what they received from the editing was only one small paragraph. They were like, where did all of it go? So the first set was that. But what they had received from PGS were personalized letters. So PGS had gone for a trek to the Sleeping Giant Hill, and children had written about that. And they had written about when they get puri in the mess and when they get Maggie in the mess and what interesting things they do. So the second content for ATA was a student led process, contrary to the first set where we wrote about ourselves, because they wanted to reply to the letters now.
Right.
So they chose to reply. So when these 2 exchanges had happened, and that's when Swati called me one day and she said that we will be breaking for our first, that the term end is going to happen October end. So we cannot waste any more time. I think there is already a sense of belonging to each other and we should meet.
Akka, they were just writing about themselves. They were not
So it was
writing
not
any
addressed
names.
to anybody.
Anybody. They were
Okay.
just writing. And when they saw the letters, some of them, they were feeling, oh, they wrote really nice. So they were also getting inspired to write next letter much better way.
The first letter that they shared, or rather the first written content that they shared, had no objective of writing to any person,
Right.
but the objective was to write about themselves,
Introducing
and they knew that it was going to be read by children of that age.
Got it.
And when they received the letters,
Replies.
they had the PGS
Then they
children
chose.
had that they had referred to certain children, because now they had an idea of who's who and what are their interests.
Yeah.
Then they started in their letters to address individual children.
Yeah. Luckily, there was a teacher coming from Chennai, dance teacher. So we will send, I would send along with him. When the letters arrived, it was such a great experience. Children were they were so enthusiastic about, then they wrote about their surroundings, their school. So they
ask
had
them to write about surroundings now.
Yeah.
From myself, it became my
surroundings. So they chose one spot in the school they liked. They drew that. And after that, they had written in English class. I don't know what Shraddha gave them instructions, but they wrote a lot about their place and surroundings and everything. And that was written. Even the English teacher Shraddha felt that there is lots of difference in the writing, and they wrote much better way than the first letter. So like that, they wrote the second letter, and then we sent them.
Okay.
And then the children arrived, and that time Kritika gave me the second set, which we replies from the second set, which we read after they left, and then we wrote one. It started with the writing, of course. The purpose was that, but after seeing their enthusiasm, the way they interacted with each other, it gave me another thought that we can have exchange programs even if we don't have this writing thing, because interacting with more children with a similar age group who are studying in the similar grade, how they are coping up with their lives, and different setup. So all that, I felt that that way my thought changed.
Actually, seniors in her school walked up to us and they said, next time can you bring somebody from this grade, like grade 10, grade 8, grade 12. Very exciting, interesting it was.
So I see two things here. One is that, correct me if I'm wrong, but as teachers in our learning community of reflective practitioners, you all experienced a richness when you engage with teachers across the country. Yeah?
Yes.
And now your students are experiencing that richness in engaging with students, fellow students across the state.
Absolutely, Akka. Yeah, it was a great learning experience.
The learning community of reflective practitioners has sowed the seed for a learning community of reflective students.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I actually had something to share, and right now, you having said this, I think this is the perfect time for me to say that you're absolutely right, because in a way, I think we did sow the seeds for a learning community of reflective students, because we had a trek that was organized for us at People Grove during our stay. It was a long trek. So I think initially even they had decided that they'll take us to only a certain height, seeing, because these children had never done, they had actually never been outside their houses, outside the comfort of their family, children whom I was taking.
Especially post-pandemic, during pandemic.
Absolutely. And we had such anxious parents who were standing and crying when they were, they were seeing us off from school. And I think as we kept walking, it was our children, ATA children, who kept pushing their sports teacher, who also happens to be a Tamilian. So they struck a deeper bond with him. They said, Anna, we have to go up, higher up. You have to take us to the mouth of the sleeping giant, because the hill is called Sleeping Giant Hill. Take us to the nose, take us to the mouth. So we kept trekking up. And it was a tremendous task, I should say, because as an adult, I was scared when I looked down. We really, it was a huge height that we had actually conquered.
They did it.
And yeah, they did it, and so happily, like within the blink of an eye, we were up and we were down. And while coming down, one of our grade 5 students, who had an emotional goodbye when we started off from school. This is the first time he's traveling, he's outside home, and who got a little emotional every night.
Homesick.
A little homesick. Mentioned on the day of the trek while we were coming down, he told me, he stopped me on the way and he said, Akka, I just felt something. I just realized something. When I said, what is it? He said, I realized that help is everywhere. And you have to just be open and you have to just ask for it. I never thought I could do this today. And you know what? It was children of PGS who motivated me, who helped me and brought me down safely. So help is everywhere.
Yeah, that was
And you won't
lovely.
believe he
Yeah.
was transformed post that
Yeah.
reflection and voicing his so-called knowledge.
Yeah.
He was a
Yeah.
changed person post that.
Yeah, that was a lovely sight, Akka. The trek sight to see they're holding hands each other, they're pushing each other, they're walking together, they're asking, let's go, you can do it. So it was, I felt na, if such, I mean, maybe I'm being too emotional right now. If such exchange programs we can do across the globe sometime in future, we don't know. So all these differences, no, which we are
Yes.
facing today,
Yes. Yes.
all these biases and differences, I think we'll be able to children will understand we are all same, and we need to do it right from this age.
That for me, the intention got modified a little bit from writing being my hero. I realized that writing is not only the hero. There are so many other human factors that got added on, layered to this
And that
project.
happened when they met, right?
Yes, yes. No, not only when they met, Akka, when the exchange started happening through writing and they were reading each other's letters. So I realized that writing was also a reflective process for every child because they were with that piece for about 1 month, 4 to 6 sessions. They reflected on themselves. They actually, children at ATA kind of discovered themselves. And for us teachers and even our director, it was surprising when we read what they had written about themselves. So it was like a self-reflection that they went through when they were writing about themselves. And then later on, when they were interacting with the children of PGS, saying, I get to speak to my parents only once a week, a PGS child says. And then at ATA, there's a big discussion during snack time and lunch time of how that would feel. What are the challenges the children will be facing? And somewhere there's one child in our school, a fifth grader, who I would say that fairly stays by herself and has a very strong personality. That's how she comes across. She told me when she got down from the bus after we reached ATA, she said, Akka, I actually thought that staying away from my parents would be a jolly, a very what do I say, dazzling affair. But I realized it was less sparkly than what I had expected, actually, to be honest. And I could see her, hugging her father and her brother and walking home. And she continues to stay very, what do I say? There is some change that we are noticing in her post the trip. Like there's more tolerance, there's more regulation. There's just a little more interest in whatever she takes and she does right now these days. So, which has been observed by all the teachers, all the subject teachers. So it's not just me.
Interesting.
For 2 nights.
Yeah.
We left on Thursday morning and reached there by afternoon. Thursday, the half day, Friday, full day, and then Saturday post breakfast we left.
The day the children left, oh my God, whole day they were so quiet. All the teachers who went to the class that day, they told me, your children are very quiet today.
So she had arranged for beds for our children in the dorms. She had also arranged for 2 dorms. She said it's good you get blankets because we won't be able to source blankets from around because also PJs is quite into the
Remote
interiors.
area. The
Remote
main
area.
problem is travel. So because we are not connected directly, everything 60 kilometers you have to travel for the railway station or anything.
About 5.5 hours. And we decided to take a big AC bus, which was 40 seaters, which was double our count. And we thought children can even sleep and come. Yes. Parents were also relaxed when they saw the bus.
Swati, what all did you have to do to be able to receive children from another school in your school?
Yeah, actually, for us it was little difficult and challenging in the beginning because we have never hosted any such program in our school.
Right.
We didn't know how to, because our bursar also joined recently after. So she was also not aware. She was also talking. So it made us think a lot, So uh, Viraj and Bursar, they had a meeting because the cost which they decided first, I thought it was too, I mean, the program wouldn't have happened because it was crossing our, so we never had, any such thing. So they were also finding it very difficult, but they were trying to, do their best that how can we bring it down. And after all, Viraj and Bursar and other people sat together and they brought down the cost to very reasonable this thing. So then we and that gave us a guideline also for the future, that how we are going to conduct and host. I have also
What was
done.
new here then? Was there anything new in this?
Actually, our setup is kind of new. The principal is new, the bursar is new.
Ah,
So
that was new.
yeah, that was new. So, and for them, everything was, for them also, everything was new. So, we were all trying, but everybody was trying to make sure that this happens. Viraj was, committed that this will happen and we should do it. So that was the thing. But we had no guest houses. We were not
Yes,
able to
yes.
give them the luxurious rooms or anything. We just had dorms and beds. So because our capability of guest houses are not sufficient for the hosting almost 20-30 children at a time. So that was a challenge. But when I spoke to Kritika, she was so accommodating. And she said, no, no, we just need a bed anywhere, we'll just sleep. So she gave me lots of relief, because for me otherwise it would have become really difficult, because I was thinking where to put them, how. And all the children, they're coming from day school, the mainstream school, they have certain way of living.
Yes.
They Either they will be able to adjust or not, because they had to use common washrooms and sleep on the floor with the mattress and all. But I was so surprised to see none of them even mentioned about it. I think we adult, we more crib about such things, but
Yes.
children, they are so accommodating. And that was another kind of learning, that we unnecessarily we get scared, or we have assumptions about. But children are very receptive, and they adjust in if they are happy with something which is happening around. So like that, we planned, and then I sent her the cost, and then it was decided that they will be coming. So finally, when I saw the bus, I was like, I almost had tears in my eyes, because I felt like it was such a hard work. And then, but the key, I would say, to make me do go ahead is this, was Sunanda Ka, and her the way she was like, wow, it's wonderful, the way, like, childlike enthusiasm, she says something. So, and school, everybody helped, and everybody was positive. No one said, no, what is this, or can you do this? And no, everybody was like, yes, it is good and we should do it.